Okay. Okay. How many, how much is the next type of problem? How many, how much? Our function will always be a product of how many times how much. And the scenario will change from problem to problem. How many tickets will I sell and how much will I sell them for? How many trees should I grow and how much fruit will I get from the trees? How many apartments will I rent and how much should I charge? That's going to change from problem to problem. Different scenarios. So in our first case scenario, we have an airfare between Boston and San Francisco, which is $500. And they run this regularly, this trip from Boston to San Francisco, $500. They have a capacity of 300 people on their plane. However, on any given day, they average 180 passengers. So they were doing some research and trying to figure out what would happen if we changed the price. And they figured that if they reduce the fare by $5, if they drop $5 from that cost, if they charge $495 instead of $500, they would get 3 more passengers on the flight. And so they want to figure out how many times they should drop that price, $5, in order to get the most out of the plane. Now there's going to be a time when they drop it too much and they start to lose money, or they filled the plane, but we want to figure out if we can get there and maximize their revenue. So the explain your reasoning just means that we're going to show our work. That's it. All right. So don't worry about that part of it. So we're going to show our work. X is going to be the number of $5 reductions. Because I don't want to just reduce the price $5 and that's it. I don't want to just do it once. That's not going to get the maximum revenue. So I want to do it a number of times and I want to figure out how many times I want to do that. So when I talk about how many, I want to set up a function that represents how many people will be on that flight. And when I set up a how much, I want this to be how much I am going to charge. And so they're always going to give you a setup at first. Right now, they average 180 people, and they charge $500. However, if I reduce it by $5 a number of times, I will increase the customers by 3 each time I make a reduction. So again, if I drop it $5, I'll get 3. If I drop it $10, I'll have 6. If I drop it $15, I'll have 9 more people. So each reduction of 5 will add 3 more customers. So now I can set up my function. This is another one where it's only one variable. So how many people? I'm going to have 180 plus 3x passengers at 500 minus 5x dollars per passenger. And so I could do a product rule if I wanted to here, or I could multiply it out and then get a polynomial and do my derivative on that. I'm going to do a product rule just because I haven't yet. And I can. The next one I'll multiply out. So this would be first d second plus second d first. Either way, I'm going to do some sort of simplifying And so just remember that those options are out there. Instead of simplifying first, I'm going to simplify second. So when I set this equal to 0, I'll have 180 times 5. So that's negative 900 minus 15x plus 1500 minus 15x, which gives me 600 minus 30x. So 30x is 600. Looks like x is 20. I want to maximize, so I want to make sure that that is indeed a max. I'll check it in my most simplified form, so I'll check it in the 600 minus 3x. So if I plug in 0, I get positive. If I plug in 30, I'll get negative. So increase to decreasing is definitely a max. So this means that I should reduce the airfare by $5 20 times. So if I reduce the airfare by $5 20 times, that means my how much will be 500 minus 5 times 20, or 400. Now I have to see what they want me to answer. It says, how should they set the fare? Well, this is how they should set the fare. They should charge $400. But if they asked me, how many passengers are they going to get? Then I'd have to go into the passenger one. If they ask me, how much money are they going to make per flight? Then I'd have to put it into the function and figure out the total money that they're going to make. If they just ask me how many times should they reduce the price, then I would maybe just answer 20. So this is another situation where I'm going to have to be careful of what they're asking and answer the question appropriately. So it's just a matter of reading. Usually it's pretty clear. So how should they set the fare? They should charge $400. Okay? If they said how many passengers, then I'd have to go into the passengers and put 20 in there. So 180 plus 3 times 20. Yep. And then again, if they wanted me to say how much are they going to make, then I'd have to put it in both and multiply that together. You know, so it just depends. Okay, so one more problem, similar fashion. How many, how much? This one is a Florida citrus grower. Florida citrus grower estimates that if 60 orange trees are planted, they should get about 400 oranges per tree. But if they add more trees, in fact, for each additional tree planted on that same acreage, they will decrease the number of oranges per tree by 4, because you have more product fighting for the ground and the nutrients and all of that stuff. Overcrowding can help, will reduce the output. All of those things come into play. But by adding another tree or two, they'll end up ultimately getting more oranges until they get to a point where it reduces the oranges from each tree by too much that it overcrowds and drops down. So again, we want to figure out the right mix here. And so I need to come up with a how much scenario for this guy. X is, let's say, each additional tree. Okay? So, how many trees should be planted? How many we start with? 60. How much? How much are we getting from each tree? 400 is our product yield, okay? For each additional tree, what happens? Yep, we lose 4 oranges. So each additional tree causes us to lose 4 oranges. And it's 4 oranges each tree, so that means if I add 1 tree, I'll be down 4 oranges total. If I add 2 trees, I'll be down 8 oranges total. Okay. So my function is how many, how much. This one I won't do the product rule on. Instead, I will FOIL this out and then do my derivative after. I just want to show you there are options out there. There's not one exact way you have to do it. So this is 24000 minus 240 plus 400 minus 4x squared. So my function is negative 4x squared plus 160x plus 24,000. And now I'll take my derivative. Set it equal to 0 and solve. Looks like 20 again, doesn't it? Minus 160 divided by negative 8. So x is 20. Again, I want to maximize my total yield. So I'll do my test point. If I plug in 0, it's positive. If I plug in something like 30, it's negative. So that is a max. And now I have to answer the question. How many trees should the grower plant? 80. So I just have to pick up the one, or pick out the one that I'm interested in for that. If they would have asked how many additional trees should the grower plant, then I would say 20 additional to the original 60, but they asked how many total, so it's the 60 plus the 20, 80 total. All right, so that is the how many, how much. Again, your job is to finish your worksheet packet and prep yourself for your test tomorrow.